Welcome to Style Zephyr, brought to you by the Alec Bradley Cigar Company, home of cigars like Tempus, Coil, Sanctum, Mundial, and Cigar Aficionado's 2011 Cigar of the Year, the Prensado. Makers of premium cigars since 1996. Live true with Alec Bradley. And now your hosts, Kevin Quinn and Arthur Mingo.
How you doing there, folks? This is your old buddy Kevin coming to you with another episode of Style Zephyr. Welcome back aboard the train today. This is continuing on with the fall and winter 2017, heading on into the brand new 2018 year. Thank you again for all of your continued support. I've got some really cool stuff going on in today's episode. Pulling on up your brand new cigar. Hopefully you've got a nice glass of wine or a scotch, bourbon, a nice glass of gin, or just a nice cup of coffee, relaxing on this beautiful Saturday night. And by beautiful, I mean a freezing 6 degrees with probably around a -2 wind chill here in Chicago. Thank you all again so much for your great feedback. I've gotten some awesome messages and texts about some of the content that we've got going on. Really putting a brand new emphasis on the local and small businesses effort that we've got going on. Going to have a new little series that I'm going to have called the Local Gem Series. Kind of had the idea of putzing around a little bit a few years ago and back in the Pilsen neighborhood. Essentially, if you are in a city, town, area, whatever the case might be, and you don't even have to be in Chicago, if you happen to have a small mom and pop's place, be it for maybe for coffee, maybe for clothing, maybe for shoes, for makeup, for accessories, for music, whatever it happens to be, if you think it's stylish, there's a pretty good chance that there's folks out there who think that it is too. Shoot me a line, either get me on Facebook, find me, drop a note on the contact form on the website. Just shoot me a note and let me know, and I want to highlight them. This is all about supporting your local community, and if there's any way we can show any love, whether it's a matter of some website traffic or some Facebook likes, or maybe even getting some orders in for any nice little goodies here and there, let's do it. Like I always say, it may not be folks' problem, but it's definitely your community, and it's all about supporting our brick and mortar. So that's going to be the Local Gem Series. It's going to be my little benchmark and my little kind of a Michelin star on behalf of the show to kind of designate as folks. So I'm super excited about having some feedback and some folks highlighted on that. Going to be continuing on as well with the Road to Esteli series that is being co-produced with Alec Bradley Cigar Company, celebrating some awesome brand new worldwide releases on some of their cigar lines. We're going to be profiling a lot of the folks from within into the company, basically all the behind the scenes kind of a folks going on. Everybody that basically makes something tick, we're going to hear their stories of on the road. We're going to hear about what makes a boutique cigar company function. Want to give another shout out to my dear friend Heather Miller. She's an awesome young lady as far as makeup. She's certified as far as being able to apply the makeup and providing all the tips that she's given. Trying to level the playing field a little bit more in terms of just a little bit something more for the ladies, a little something more for the gents. Got some awesome guests lined up as far as for the ladies as well. A couple of different topics, be it for the retail roast segment. I'm going to finally get some oomph going on with the retail roast segments. I've got some folks on the agenda for that, for some interviews. Likewise, already some folks in the pipe for some episodes that I'm going to be publishing very, very soon. In addition, for tonight's main event interview, which we're going to be getting into momentarily, super stoked. For those of you who know, as you can kind of tell, I'm a big cigar fan. Heard through the grapevine that there was a really cool guy in and around Casa de Monte Cristo, which is of course the pretty much the cigar home for Style Zephyr. There was a really cool guy there named Mo. Got to know him a little bit again through the grapevine. I have got the pleasure and privilege of interviewing Mr. Patina Cigars. I've got Mr. Maali on the show. Awesome guy and a great friend. Looking forward to getting to know him a little bit more, a little bit better over time. Mo was, I believe, a manager or something along those lines. I'm sorry, Mo, if I happen to snag that up a little bit, but actually met him through the grapevine at Casa de Puros, which is a sister store for Casa de Monte Cristo. Mo wound up coming out with his own line of cigars from called Patina Cigars. Have had a chance to smoke a couple of these bad boys, and they are awesome. Straightforward, great blends, and the episode and the interview, the cigar is going to promote itself if you ever have the pleasure of sitting down with one of these guys. This episode is going to be focused more so on the style of being an entrepreneur. What does it take to be an entrepreneur, not only in 2018 as far as the tobacco industry goes and for all the FDA nonsense going on, but in essence, what is it taking right now to do the elbow grease and the legwork for being your own CEO, your own marketing, and just doing all the legwork in effect by yourself and just being your own person and making sure that everything is getting done to the best of its ability, to the best of your budget, so on and so forth. I finally had the chance, like I said, to sit down with Mo, had a great conversation with him, super appreciative for how personal things have gotten. It's all about delivering and conveying that message of a great brand that's growing very, very steadily. He's got recently some awesome reviews coming in. He's got some awesome deals for distribution coming out. So I figured, what's a better time to get this guy knocked out now and get this on out for the airwaves and celebrate all of his great success and all of his hard work. He's an awesome guy, and I'm super excited for him. We're going to get on into it, folks. Thank you so much again for all your continued support. I'm Kevin. This is Style Zephyr. Stay with me.
Hello there. Welcome to Retail Row on Style Zephyr. A lot of people have strong feelings about online shopping versus local small businesses and brick and mortars that make up our communities. The truth is, there are some very passionate and well-experienced folks out there that are experts at the craft and want to help teach you how to shop and buy better. Tune in to Retail Row on Style Zephyr, where folks with experience and expertise in their respective industry will shed light on their own inspiration to help your style be true to you.
From the Alec Bradley Cigar Company, the company that has brought amazing cigar blends such as the Tempest, Black Market, Post Embargo, and the 2011 Cigar of the Year, the Prensado, comes the worldwide release of the Black Market Esteli and the Prensado Lost Art. Both cigars will be featuring Central American tobaccos and a variety of sizes and box counts. Alec Bradley has been creating new traditions for over 20 years and continue to create inspiration and conversation pieces with beautiful premium tobaccos. Join the family today at alecbradley.com. Proudly paired with Style Zephyr to be true to you.
What's going on, folks? This is Kevin coming to you with another episode of Style Zephyr. Happy New Year. We're officially in 2018. I hope everybody's got some really cool New Year's resolutions going on for you, whether it's getting in shape, drinking a little bit less, maybe even drinking a little bit more. Who knows? Maybe all of our livers are on damage control or not after the New Year's. But thank you all so much for your continued support and everything else going on in between. There's so much cool stuff going on with these new episodes. I want to thank everyone for their continued support, everything that's going to be going on in the near future for all these new folks that are networking with me. I hope you're a big fan of bourbons and whiskeys and so on. Got some new relationships in the ballpark in the near future. Got some really cool stuff going on. As everyone likes to say, oh, we're live. Unfortunately, I am not, in fact, live. I am, however, on location at still got some sinus stuff going on. I hope you and your family are doing well as far as the 2018 health situation goes. Plus, it's like below freezing outside right now in Chicago. We are, as I was saying, on location at Casa de Monte Cristo, 8to8cigars.com. The best, I would say, home of cigars and premium cigars in Chicagoland. We're not only on location at an awesome cigar lounge, but I'm also on location with a really cool guy. I'm proud to be calling him my friend after a little while, Mr. Maali of Patina Cigars. Mo, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, boss. Not a problem. Now, one of the bigger topics that we're going to have going forward with Style Zephyr is not only is style a matter of your clothes on your back, but it's also the way in which you carry yourself, career choices, lifestyle, whether it be health, life, dining, and so on and so forth. But Mo is a pretty cool guy. If you've ever reached out to Patina Cigars on any form of Instagram or social medias and so on, Mo's got some pretty cool stuff going on in the world of tobacco. So, Mo, I'm going to hand it on over to you. Tell us about yourself. Tell us what you've got going on, and what's the world of tobacco going on with you right now?
I grew up in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, so I'm a local guy, which we have talked about. Funny enough, used to manage one of your childhood buddies' brothers at the cigar shop. And that's kind of how we broke the ice anyway. And so after college, kind of went into the professional world, corporate world, whatever you want to call it. Did some forensic accounting, did some trading, commodity trading. And, the corporate life just wasn't for me. And so after a while, you start to think about what are your passions, what do you like to do, and you and I have talked about this extensively, being happy with what you're doing. And I think that we're seeing that more and more as our generation starts to get a little bit older. And so that was important to me and always was. So a buddy and I had started a cigar blog called The Sultans of Smoke in 2014, reviewing cigars and things like that. And we had, after a little bit of a time period, said, you know what, my buddy says to me, he says, why don't we try making a cigar for the cigar blog? And so we're like, okay. We start talking to different factories and things like that. And so there was a gentleman by the name of James Brown who owns a cigar company called Black Label Trading. And he had just opened up a new factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. And so he made the first cigar that my buddy and I had ever done together, and that was for the Sultans of Smoke podcast and review blog at the time. And so that was kind of my introduction into the world of tobacco. And what I found was the amount of creativity, the amount of love that goes into these, what are essentially a handmade product. These are all 100% handmade, natural tobacco. And so it really fascinated me and pushed me into wanting to learn more. So fast forward, continue just to think, man, maybe I want to do this full time. And so some opportunities came up. And I made some connections and networking, and you and I have talked about the importance of networking and building that network to where it's a mutually beneficial type relationship that you have with people, not just one-sided. So you don't ever want to be too much of a taker, but you don't also want to be too much of a giver. You want things to be where it works both ways. So I got to meet the guys from a company called Mombacho Cigars, who I am now also the national sales manager for, in addition to owning Patina. So Mombacho owns a factory in Granada, Nicaragua called Casa Favilli, which is a converted mansion built in 1925 by an Italian architect. And if you know anything about Nicaragua or even Granada, Granada's the oldest colonial town, I believe, in the Americas. So there is some really old stuff there. It's really fascinating. So we go in there, and at first they tell me, hey, look, we don't make cigars for people. And I said, okay. And I said, but I really want to work with you. And the reason is the master blender's name is Claudio. And Claudio worked for Davidoff. So if anybody knows anything about the world of cigars, Davidoff is kind of considered one of those pinnacle brands, similar to in the fashion world, a Gucci or a Ferragamo or something like that. That's totally. So so to have that pedigree and to be able to work with somebody who cut his teeth in a company like that really interested me. So it wasn't just I want to work with anybody. It was I wanted to work with that guy. So I had the opportunity. Finally, I had convinced them that I was serious about doing this. And so they gave me a shot, man, and here we are. And it's been a roller. It's been a hell of a ride. There's a lot of ups and downs, and any entrepreneur could tell you that there are going to be those days when things don't go right is really when you learn the most, I think. And so being able to take those lessons that you learn when things aren't going your way, help you build, and hopefully one day stay on top of it and continue to grow versus just building something. I think that's even the hardest part, is maintaining growth.
Absolutely, and it's we were just talking about this a little while ago, and if we ever have like a split-second break here, it's because we've got some killer sticks going on at the lounge. I'm going to be spearheading a brand new kind of a segment, more or less, of on Zephyr, where we're going to be highlighting local gems, and I consider you to be that, because it's one thing. It's one thing for especially if you consider yourself a millennial. I might be a 90-year-old trapped in a 30-year-old body. By my birth certificate, I am considered a millennial. It's hard enough to find, it's hard enough to be an entrepreneur of any sort, let alone right now, that's making it. The economy is doing better. Everything is a little bit on an upswing. Tobacco has its own headaches right now.
Absolutely.
And that's a fucking understatement.
Yeah.
And, it feels really good to get that out. But it feels really good to say that out loud. But to have a startup in tobacco right now, that's few and far in between in every sense. And for to have met you, like I actually, because the owner, Sam, on here at Casa, he also owns Casa de Puros. And that was actually where I had, after he had formally introduced us, I was like, oh my God, like I've actually I had met him before.
Yeah.
And to have that, like, oh cool, like that guy's actually doing it. Yeah. So to have finally like actually networked with you, like it's huge to have actually knowing that you've got that credibility going with tobacco. Yeah. And like I said, as far as social media goes, you're getting your teeth sharpened and ground down pretty good right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as the actual development, to step back a little bit, as far as the actual development of the cigars go, for a startup, if you consider yourself that still, which I kind of think, how's that been for you?
Man, that's a great question. I'm gonna start with what you said about it being tough to start something in tobacco, and that was something that a lot of people had said to me. Hey, look, the FDA is going to start regulating tobacco, and this is maybe not the right time. And ultimately, what happens is when everybody else is scared, if you see an opportunity, that's when you want to take it. And it was kind of the same thing in trading too, that you saw, was when everyone else is scared, do your homework, make sure this is something that, and if you see a risk worth taking, take it, and then that's what separates people. I really believe that. And so we had a unique opportunity with the factory, the role that I play within Mombacho and owning Patina. So that's a unique role in the industry, being a sales manager for one company, being an owner of another. And so the pieces just fit. And so a lot of that fear got replaced with hope and really just seeing an opportunity. So you're absolutely right. It's a tough time to be in the tobacco industry. But at the same time, it's very rewarding as you try to grow. Yeah. And if you do it right, man, you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Ultimately. And so we were talking a little bit about social media too. And to me, success, when you have a product, and in my case, a cigar is a consumable product ultimately, it is what I call one of the prongs to success. So you have different prongs in your approach, right? There's no one avenue that could solely lead to success. There is multiple facets that you have to take into consideration as you try to build the business. But social media is crucial because, and every cigar market is different too. The things that are important to Europeans are different than the Canadians, which are different to Americans. In America, the American consumer is very much into a personal connection with the owner of a brand. And if they could, what's the word I'm looking for? The more stories they could tell of a personal interaction with you, the better off you are.
Yeah.
And that's crucial. And so that's where social media comes in, because obviously you can't be everywhere at once. And when you post something or somebody posts they're smoking your cigar or whatever, in just a simple comment, acknowledge that this person has chosen your cigar to relax in their day. And to acknowledge that means a lot to people. And that's important to me. So social media for me is more of a connection with people, even when I can't be there. So that's what I really like about it.
So you mean to tell me that after all these superpowers that you have through osmosis, you cannot be in the warehouse in Esteli, you cannot be liking, because I more or less almost tagged you on your way in here with my I had that Connecticut, I had my Patina, it's freaking great, I had my cup of coffee. Yes, I have my Prensado right now.
Yes.
I'm a big fan. So you're telling me that through osmosis you can't actually wear the million hats at one time.
Believe it or not, it's still, even with technology where it is today, that is still impossible. Yeah.
If I didn't realize, it's because I didn't care. I'm sorry. But you know what? As far as your credibility goes, because it's like you said, it's like you're the guy. You're the brand development. You're the one out there. You're looking at the leaves. You're looking at what's, if you're fermenting anything, if you're out there in the fields, if you're overseas, if whatever it is that you're doing. You are your own operations guy. You are your own advertising. You are...
from the operations, and I have to give credit to the guys at the factory, and that I place a lot of trust in them, and they have done me right. And so I have to tip my hat to my Mombacho family and the guys at the factory, because ultimately I can't be, because of my role as the U.S. National Sales Manager, I got to be on the road in the U.S. So I can't necessarily go down to Nicaragua as often as I would like, or I normally would if I wasn't doing the sales manager stuff, right? So I place a lot of trust in them when I can't be there. And so, like, for example, I'm going at the end of this month, I'll see what's going on and things like that. But I trust, Claudio and Umberto, who is the production manager, and Benoit and those guys. They take care of me, man. They make sure the tobacco's right. They make sure, and they obviously have a lot more experience than I do. I'm a total novice when it comes to this stuff. And so but that's the fun of it, is learning. And so I never wanted to be one of those guys that just said to a factory, hey, make me a cigar, I'm going to stick a fancy band on it, and then I'll take care of the marketing from there. No,
it is a fancy band, in all fairness.
Thank you. But it was crucial for me to also work with a factory that allowed me to be a part of the whole process. I worked on the blend with Claudio. It was a collaborative effort. It takes a team, man. So those guys have done right by me. So really the credit goes to them on that.
Awesome. We're going to cut it really quick here for a commercial break, folks. Got Mr. Mo here at Patina Cigars. We're going to have a little bit more after these words from our much beloved sponsors. Thank you to them, and going into 2018. Be right back.
Welcome to Casa de Montecristo, leading tobacco retailer in Chicago. Casa features a beautiful 3,700 square foot lounge with a VIP room, a conference room, and theater for hosting your events as well. Their inventory features products from companies like Regius, Alec Bradley, Davidoff, Camacho, Romeo y Julieta, Ashton, My Father, and dozens more. Their aging room includes cigars as sold as pre-embargo. Pay them a visit at www.casademontecristo-chicago.com or cdmcigars.com, the home of the only online retailer, proudly paired with Style Zephyr.
All right, folks, we're into part 2 of Style Zephyr. I'm sitting down here with Mr. Maali. We're here on location over at Casa de Montecristo in Countryside for some of the absolute best selections of cigars that you can imagine in the Chicagoland area. We're in the theater right now. They've also got a VIP lounge. They've got the Blackhawks game going on right now. If you want a vintage room, if you want a aging room, you've got a conference center for any kind of business arrangements or any kind of business rendezvous, wink, wink, if you got anything else like that going on. Mo, thank you again for your time.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Among that selection of fine cigars they got here are Patina cigars, and Mr. Mo is the big daddy of Patina cigars. So in terms of individual style, like I said, we kind of get a little bit more into it on an individual basis in part 2s of these guys. We had a really cool conversation one of the first times we met about your inspiration towards the labels. I'll probably want to post some of that guy around social media wise, just so that people can get their own kind of their own impression of the label. What were your inspirations? I mean, because label art is like your story, because it's just a cigar at that point. But until you see that label, What was your inspiration, or what kind of got the mouse on the wheel as far as your thought process on your label?
The mouse on the wheel. Wow, I've never that's classic. I've never heard that. Have you patented that?
I told my customers all the time, like, oh no, I'm just looking, and then after about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm like, so I can hear the hamster on the wheel from here. What are you thinking? And they're like, oh wow, yeah, I never heard of that before.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if the hamster ever really runs much, but when he does, he has pretty good results. Really, that was a hamster sound, just in case anybody. But that, it was. So you wanted a vintage look. So first of all, you have to go to what exactly patina is, right? Which a lot of people don't know. And so the best example I could use is the Statue of Liberty. And so the Statue of Liberty is not actually that green color. That's patina that's on it, right? So patina is part of an oxidation process that like bronze or copper undergoes and then that gives it that greenish tint. So the band on patina is that color along with some copper. What a lot of people, so the two questions I always get about the patina band, and if you look at it, you got the staircase and then the Roman numerals. So the Roman numerals are 1925, which is the year the factory was built, Casa Favili in Granada, Nicaragua. The staircase is my nod to the factory because when you walk into the factory, and like I said, it's a converted mansion. And so when you walk in there, there's a huge staircase that goes to a second floor. And so I captured that in the band, and that was kind of like my homage to the factory. So anytime somebody picks up a patina, they know that it came from Casa Favili in Granada, Nicaragua. So those are two of the defining features on the band. And so especially when you're a small brand like Patina, it is extremely important that you have something about your cigar that attracts attention. And so the band is colorful. It stands out. The color is not one that's commonly used, if at all. I think Patina actually might be the first brand to use this color band. So that was important, and that was kind of the inspiration behind it. So it's a Patina-colored band, or as some people call it, teal, and copper, and then those are the defining traits. Another thing you'll notice on the band, and this is for any cigar nerds that might be listening or other people so on a lot of cigar bands you'll see HOA Mano, which means handmade, right? So on a lot of premium cigars they're handmade. Mine will say totalmente y mano, which means totally handmade. So that means there are 0 machines used in the entire process at all. So
that's amazing, man.
Yeah, that's a defining process.
It's like its own certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, it's just different. It's a step in addition to handmade. It's totally handmade, which is a little bit different. And so if you see that on a band, future reference, you know what that means. And so again, that's credit goes to the factory because they just do stuff the right way. And
we're just talking about it. Like, we're both South Side guys. Mm-hmm. Like, South Sides of Chicago, mm-hmm. We give credit where credit's due. Like, about 90% of the things that I do, it's right in the show's name, Style Zephyr, is almost always like a nod to something else. Yeah. And it's a nod to something that was really special. Yeah. And whether it's traditional or broke the mold. Yeah. So I named it after a train, but I still love I love the train.
So it wasn't the hot air balloon or whatever that was?
Believe it or not, no. There's enough hot air in me that I don't need a freaking name of my podcast. This is not to pump my ego. I'm good with it. It's a small ego. I'm Irish. I'm Irish. There's not very big things to acknowledge in that. I'm part Irish, but as I always say, I'm Irish, Polish, German, and Austrian, which means I invade myself and then I party afterwards.
Okay, yeah.
It's the easiest wine and dine ever.
Fair enough.
But being, again, like that South Side guy, you've obviously given the tribute, you've given the credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
And as since I've known you, like, because you're probably on the road a lot.
Yeah.
You're pretty, like, we're both in jeans, like, t-shirt kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, that's your thing, and like, it's low key, which is awesome. Yeah. It's very humble. It's very admirable. And what I was going to say as far as the color on it is that, and this may not be a characteristic that maybe like a lot of people think about, but what I attracted it to me, it's very light and graceful. And if it was, at least that's like what was for me, like the chord with me. And it was only after you pointed out the staircase, I was like, wow, like that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It's very unique. Whereas, where it's like if you've got like scrolls and I'm not gonna, like I said, I've got what I've got right now. Yeah. But it was like, and then like when you had said other ideas about other projects, it was like, that's awesome. Like it's one thing to always see like in a magazine or online, in like in an aficionado or a journal, like what other people's quests were, but to hear it firsthand from where it comes from is like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like that seed has to get planted somewhere.
Right. And so I'm gonna say two things to go back to real quick. One thing I've learned more than anything, and you could probably speak to this as well. The most successful people I've ever met in my life, or I should say even the smartest people, were people that understood what they were good at and understood what they knew and their limitations and what they were great at or good at, okay? But also were humble enough to go learn what they didn't know. And also reach out to the correct people to help them as they progressed. So part of building something is surrounding yourself with the right people. And so, of course, you have to acknowledge the efforts and the assistance that other people have provided you with along the way. And that's important. And always maintaining a sense of humility in everything you do, because ultimately nobody likes to jag off. I mean, let's just be real. Mm-hmm. And so, and for some people it's harder than others. I mean, but
we try when we first see each other in the lounge.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be, jag offs to each other, and then it's like,
Happy New Year, you son of a.
Yeah, and then it's like, all right, let's. But it's interesting. Additionally, about the band, and to me, Patina is something that is timeless. It's classic. It's a sign of age, and so. In anything, if you notice, whether it's fashion, clothes-wise, whether it's eating habits, what the hottest wine is today, or craft beer, or whatever, there always seems to be within these ebbs and flows of what's popular a return to the mean, or the mean, right, the average, whatever you want to call it, or the middle. Let's call it the middle. And that's, to me, where you want to have something that is timeless, that regardless of the trend or what's hot today or what's not, your cigar, from the blend to the branding, survives the test of time. And the only way to achieve that is with what I consider to be classic looks, classic blends. Stuff. And a lot of people will say, what makes Cuban cigars so special, for example, right? And admittedly, and anybody that's into the cigar world will tell you that, unfortunately, for a lot of different factors, Cuban cigar quality has deteriorated over the last few years. But what makes Cuban special, in my opinion, is you could literally smoke one, pick one up right after you finish and smoke another one, because they are so smooth, they're so balanced. In the American market today, we are seeing a somewhat of a trend towards very strong cigars that a lot of people are doing, and which are very popular. But ultimately, especially as cigar smokers mature, age, and typically when they have more money, they go back to the stuff that is in the middle. And so that's the demographic you really want, in my opinion, to appeal to. And so being in that middle ground of delivering value, delivering an experience that people is like a safe zone, and is always cool and is always good, no matter what the hottest trend is at the time. And that's kind of what it's about to me. So,
totally.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, too, I mean, I'm going to have this conversation with some folks in from Alec Bradley as we were going to do the Road to Esteli together. And I'm going to give them a lot of credit, but there's the one common denominator that you're always going to have with cigars is that it brings people together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's no matter what, like whatever you, like you said, your budget is, every YouTube video where people say that is a dime a dozen. And for what it's worth already, and I mean, I don't quite recall how long the brand has been around for, but the fact is that I was already sitting down before you got here. I had my Patina, and I was conversating with a gentleman about, dinners, like at nicer restaurants on Michigan Avenue. We have no idea who each other are.
Yeah.
I don't quite even know what he was smoking, but the fact is that we both had cigars.
Yep.
And I had yours waiting for you. It was not my first one that I had, but I remember the green on it. I remember that patina on it.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, that's already paying off.
Sure.
And it's bringing people together. I still don't know his name. I'll probably shake his hand on my way out.
Yeah.
But it's that engagement, it's already like that's there. And it's really not something that you can really put on a portfolio. It's not what you can put on a resume. It's not something you can put on a LinkedIn.
Sure.
But for the folks who question, like, oh, that's so gross, or it's addictive, or it's this and that, it's like, that's not really what they're for. It's not really what they're about.
Yeah.
And, you know, even my dad, like, cigars brought my dad and I together. He wants me to join up, and, like, we're from the South Side, he wants me to join up in the Hamburg Club.
Yeah.
And those guys always have some kind of stick with them.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things where, you know, it's just awesome. And like you said, it's timeless. And you can't, you know, and you just, you know, as far as I know, even with the FDA nonsense, cigars have had, I think, their own little rejuvenation.
Yes.
All these boutique cigars, you're a perfect example of that. And it's cyclical.
Sure.
Unless if I'm wrong, I'm whatever. But you know, the times have changed and whatnot, but they're still enduring.
Yeah. Cigar smoking is not going away. That is ingrained in American culture back from way back. You know, to me, cigars are a symbol of celebration for a lot of people, a symbol of elegance. But you know, ultimately, in what you said is very interesting. When I used to manage the shop in Forest Park, I used to tell the younger guys that worked there, I said, you have to understand that working in a cigar shop is like a real life LinkedIn for you. And they're like, well, what do you mean by that? The opportunities to connect with people in a cigar shop are unlike anything else, in my opinion. And when you go into a cigar shop, you'll literally see a guy who's a millionaire, a guy who's a garbage man, a guy whatever, a teacher, a accountant, a lawyer, all sitting together enjoying a cigar, and that's what it's about. And I think that people outside of the industry overlook that part of it, that aspect of it. And, you know, sure, you'll hear the health concerns and things like that, but I mean, look, the FDA itself, which is trying to regulate our industry now, has said 1 to 2 cigars a day poses little to zero risk to your health. So you're talking about natural tobacco. So it's a little bit different. But it really is a truly unique experience to be able to light up a cigar with somebody, sit down, talk. It's just unmatched. It really is, man. Mm-hmm. And it's great networking, too. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Can't imagine what kind of people I would be meeting. I have to hang out with degenerates like you.
Yeah.
And you with me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're on the lower rungs, but hopefully one day we'll be able to climb out of the fucking peanut gallery, right?
That's true.
So.
That's true. I do like peanuts, though.
Yeah, well,
good stuff.
More of an almond guy.
I'm going to wrap it up a little bit, but because of this episode, and like I said, going to be including you in the echelon of local gems, and for what you've been, you know, working so diligently. Mm-hmm. I see you on social media, and what's even fucking crazier is how, like, I'll be on my commute in the morning, I see other people's, like, these social groups of cigars, and they've got their you know, their Zephyrs, and you know, there's a Bradley, that's my favorite Nat Sherman, there's a this, there's my Camacho, there's a Patina.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
And that's cool enough as itself, and it's a result of entrepreneurial efforts.
Yeah.
This is revolving around the values of entrepreneurship, and you know, a lot of folks do say that I focus on cigars a lot. But overall, if you can maybe, and this is a loaded, kind of a heavy-duty question,
sure,
but ending this in an entrepreneurial kind of counselorship kind of episode, knowing what you know now, what's a bit of advice you would give to someone, 2018, this economy, this digital age, an age of, you know, a lot of elbow grease is on the internet versus in real life. You're building your own network. You are your own guy.
Right.
What would you tell somebody looking at something and saying, I want to try to do this?
I think at any venture that you're going to undertake, and it doesn't matter what it is. And there was one lesson that I really learned when I was trading commodities that has helped me in this, and I think is crucial to anybody that is looking to start their own business, and that is the ability to keep a level head. Not everything is going to go your way all the time. In fact, it's highly unlikely to go your way most of the time. But when it does go your way, you have to take full advantage of it. And secondly is the ability to understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and knowing what type of people you need to surround yourself with that are going to help you elevate over an extended period of time. Don't think you know it all. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and rely on your network and build it that way. And ultimately, if your stuff is good, whatever it is, it's going to begin to stand on its own. But that takes time and patience and perseverance. So I think those would be probably the two biggest things that I would tell somebody that's looking to start something. And lastly, don't expect anything overnight. If you're getting into something purely to make money, from an entrepreneurial perspective, understand that doesn't happen right away. And so, and don't be afraid to reinvest into your business in whatever way makes sense for you. In every, somebody asked me, well, what's your vision? What's your strategy? Well, I know what my strategy and vision is going to continue. Obviously, your ultimate goal is to build a business. But within that, your strategy is going to constantly change as you grow into different phases. So my 6-month strategy is going to be different than my 12-month, my 18-month, my 2-year, 3-year, whatever. So you have to be prepared to adjust on the fly and understand where you're at in your evolutionary process and be able to act on that to continue growth. I think that's the biggest thing, in addition to... So yeah, those factors I would say are crucial to anybody looking to start whatever they're trying to do.
One of the mantras that I've learned to kind of go by as far as working in high-end retail, high-end sales, and we're probably going to we'll end on this. I'm appreciative of your having more or less I wanted to have your last word on there, but as I like to tell a lot of folks that I've worked around and whatnot, better that you learn how to handle the shittier days makes the better days that much better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Maali, thanks for your time, bro.
Hey, man, thanks a lot, Kevin. Appreciate it, bro.
You betcha.